Welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin, and I am dressed like so because I'm presenting a yoga church today at Thrive Yoga and Fitness, my studio. So, some of you listening to this podcast are all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Africa, lots of different places. And I'm so honored for you to tune in. And for my locals, thank you so much for putting up with my rambling and being curious and interested in my journey and the way that I teach things. So, but if you are local, it's usually once a month, though next month I have a conflict because I'm leading a training, yoga church on a Sunday. It's usually the first Sunday of the month. So you can check the website Thrive Yoga Fit to see if it's happening. And it's kind of filling up your spiritual cup with modern day retellings of sacred stories as well as scripture and putting it in a modern day application to help us be better individuals, live life more skillfully, and maybe some mild entertainment value. Um, so today I wanted to continue my discussion and series on Bhakti Yoga and kind of the application in my life and maybe a sort of broader scope of application in your life because we're all different, though we connect in some similar ways. So, as a reminder, Bhakti Yoga is a way to connect with the divine through devotion, and there's different practices and precepts or pillars that one would follow to kind of like keep you in line. And this is sort of like self guided. Um, I think it's important on the spiritual path to have bumper rails or bumper guards, if you might say, that kind of help to keep you in check, to make sure that your ego doesn't take over anything, to make sure that you're still acting in kindness and a way that you could look back on your life and be like, yeah, I'm proud of that, rather than like, oh God, like shame. So, we're nobody's perfect, but I find that having these principles in my life really help me to check in with myself and study myself so I'm aware because there's so many people that are just not aware. And, that's spirituality in a nutshell is, having some sort of ethics or morals or values and then having tools to help you like live up to those. And I guess that's kind of my idea of applied spirituality. And as far as what God is, I did a podcast a couple episodes ago about the God of Spinoza. That would probably be the closest thing for me, though I dabble in Hinduism and some Eastern philosophies because they resonate with me. But it's really all from this like, there's this broader, greater source of energy and power that exists outside of us as well as inside of us that connects all of us. So, yeah. So, Bhakti Yoga. So, as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast, I had a really big experience in India, as I do pretty much every time. It's my fourth time to India. I'm going a fifth time this summer. And by the way, we do have two spots left for our India retreat immersion. So and there's elements of a training, there's elements of adventure, there's elements of exploration, and certainly there's a heart-centeredness that comes with any of my trainings and retreats. So if you're interested in that, we do have a small module that's necessary. You have to attend it. It's non-negotiable, and you can do it online or in person of life coaching for emotional and communication regulation tools. If you don't do that, you can't come. So, so you need to hop on board, make the decision soon so that you can, if you want to go, that you can do all the things you need to do to go. And these are like gifts, they're like added value, and that will help bring you closer to the people that are in the group, as well as help sort yourself out. And even if you're like, my communication's great and my emotional regulation is top notch, well, you still have to come. So there's always room to grow. And if you're in the mindset that you've grown too much already, then probably you don't need to come with me. You can find somebody else. Anywho, so Bhakti Yoga, there are pillars and precepts, and I've gone over those in my latest podcast, but just a reminder. The first sort of pillar is non-criticism. So just making sure that you're not criticizing others. We can criticize ourselves very often. If you, for example, I catch myself like if something kind of like irritates me a slight bit, then all of a sudden the quality of the chatter in my head changes. and I'll think, oh, this should be this, and why is this giving me a hard time? And then if I continue on with that, just like criticizing what's in the moment, I'm going to have a hard time. I'm going to make it a bad day. And that is completely within my control. And so becoming aware of that as far as any critical chatter and sort of like hitting it, like just nipping it in the bud is really important because yeah, you get to determine how your day is going to be for the most part. You know, if someone's screaming in your face, I mean, you still have somewhat of a say in that, thinking, okay, well, this is more about them than it is about me, though, you know, putting up with abuse is not a great thing, and I'm not advocating for that at all, even though the next pillar is tolerance to a certain extent, right? But if, you know, in any of these cases where there's abuse, please feel free to remove yourself from the situation. Tolerance only goes so far. So, anyways, tolerance, yes. So, tolerance just because people are people, you know, having spent time in India and Asia, it's like completely different culture, different language. People have been very, very tolerant of me. And I think the reason why is because I've been mostly respectful, unless I didn't really know what I was doing. The one time I accidentally stepped on a little temple shrine with my shoe, and it was like literally I was at a bus stop and then backed up into it because it was just right there. And one of my friends was like slow motion tried to like push me out of the way. I was like, oh, what did I do? I didn't even know because I was avidya. I was ignorant of what was like happening where my foot was going and that there was even a temple there. I was like, oh, it's small like that. That counts. And it's sacred grounds. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. So, you know, my friend didn't scold me, but she informed me and she was tolerant and then she educated me. So, wouldn't it be an amazing world if we can do that for each other and just be tolerant and educate and, you know, those people that are creating some offense, you know, if you could also humble yourself and like maybe we can all get along. Imagine that. So the next thing is non-offense. So there, like, I'll just give a personal example. So for me, I have kind of curvaceous body, just like genetically, but also like I'm just like at my healthiest. I have a little bit of extra curve, especially on my bottom side. And I would have people like guys come up to me in the gym and actually ask me like, "What's your workout routine to make your legs look like that?" And I remember taking such offense to that and like being self-conscious about it. And I would feel so offended. Like, how dare you? And like, oh my gosh, you're objectifying me. And now I actually appreciate that because I accept and love my body. I think it's amazing, beautiful, and gorgeous. So that was like inner work on my part. So that act of non-offense is like, you know, also recognizing that like, um, you know, people's behavior has less to do with you and it's more to do about them. Like that particular guy at the gym, he had goals and his goals happened to be like having legs like mine. I don't know. And I don't think he was hitting on me, but who knows? Um, but you know, certainly I feel better not taking offense to everything. And again, you can always remove yourself from a situation and then like, oh, okay, this isn't for me, but like not making it overly about you. Don't take it too personal because that's when the ego grabs onto it and creates fear and creates hurt and pain. The next thing is quick to apologize. I think that any relationship can benefit from this. And, you know, like, what do you have to lose? I mean, I guess a little bit of ego, but, and, you know, maybe if you're in a courtroom, different rules apply, but there's no harm that can be done really by apologizing first. And a lot of times it'll soften the other person, they'll apologize too. And then you're back into a heart opening space. So why not? Um, seeing the good in others is very important. And, you know, I think that I naturally do that. Like this is one, um, you know, precept that I naturally embody is I do look for the good in others. But I think it's also important not to blind yourself to the good of others. Like be aware of different patterns, and especially if you're in a relationship or friendship, I think these are important things too. And being like honest in a kind way, but being honest with yourself and with others, um, you know, and seeing the good in yourself, so necessary. But like if you're in denial about the things you need to work on, not great either. So this takes viveka, discernment, which, you know, is just kind of part of built into the yogic path. When you start to do these principles and your mind is like more calm and clear, then you can discern a lot better because there's less noise in your head. Imagine trying to focus and take a test when there's music blasting in your ear, you're like, oh God, I know this. Like, why can't I think? Oh, because this is so loud. So it's sort of drowning out the inner dialogue that you have. When the volume is turned down because you're not engaging in other people's BS and you're not creating more of that in the world, then you can hear things more clearly and you're guided. You have this sort of intuitive wisdom that guides you and helps you make decisions and guides you to different people and paths. And so, so yeah, totally worth it. Gratitude is just like, and by the way, I mean, I think it's obvious, but I'll just point out maybe that these pillars is like, even if you don't consider yourself a Bhakti Yoga, yogi, um, these practices you can implement in your life and like you couldn't cause any more harm. It's certainly like a good thing to do in your life and would very much enhance your life. Having gratitude for everything that you have and reviewing the things that you have, like looking at the people in your life, telling them that, like verbalizing that, I think is really important. And yeah, just having even like quiet prayer time where you're grateful for things. The universe loves a grateful person. I give the example often that if you've ever given a gift to someone that feels entitled and they don't even say thank you, and they just kind of like, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to give to you again because you're just so ungrateful. Whereas someone who's a very gracious gift receiver, like, oh, can I please give to you again? So similar with the universe, at least from my experience. I always teach from the framework of my body, Kaya Gata Vedana Sati, from within what I feel in my body. And that's the place that I can teach from. So it's not just make them ups in my head. I've at least explored in my body. So I think there's some weight to that. And perhaps there should be some weight of that for you. So, all right. So now other aspects of Bhakti Yoga, and then I'm going to tie it into modern day application, or I'll kind of do it as I go. So Archana. Archana is forming a relationship with the divine through rituals. So this could be puja, this could be, going to a temple, this could be your own personal practice, something sacred that you take time out for. You become very present because that is yoga and that is spirituality, is like becoming present with whatever is in your body and being intimate with it. So some of you know from following my socials is that I'm in a yogi punk rock band. We're deciding on a name now because like we want to start actually like um, booking out like songs and then like hopefully booking gigs and then going on tour. So I mix in sacred mantra in a kind of droney way, and then I hop into like a little bit of like Anthony Kiedis style, like um, rock and roll rap, and then I also hop into just little phrases and lyrics that I put together, and also have been influenced from different rock and rollers and punk rockers. So very interesting blend, and I don't know if I've ever heard anything like it, and it's just sort of coming out. And there is a chemistry that I have with my friend and drummer Tony, and then my friend and guitarist, bassist, music extraordinaire Sully, that like pull something pretty amazing and sacred out of me, magical. And there is a ritual to that for sure. That is Archana. That is, especially because I'm chanting sacred mantra and it comes out in different ways, in different voices, and different vocal ranges I didn't even know I had. It's so this is my year of Saraswati, which means that this is my year of tapping into my creative gifts and really developing them because I've created time and space in my schedule. Literally, as far as if you want to talk to me about manifestation or if you want to find a coach that knows how to do this stuff, last year I literally like wrote it down as far as like my goals. I want to lead more retreats. I want to lead more trainings. I want to, so I don't have to do as much work in between like one-on-one, which I do enjoy one-on-one, but there's sort of like a lower ceiling to that. As a result, I have a lot more free time. And I'm taking that free time and I'm using it for creative pursuits that make my knees shake a little bit, like yogi punk rock band, like learning harmonium. It's right on the table here with me, like presenting different ways, more travel. So I thought it, put things together, put some hard work behind it, and here we are. This is my year of Saraswati. I've been waiting for it. If you've been following my podcast, I've been talking about I want a year of Saraswati for the last 2 years. Here it is. I manifested it. Um, you know, I show up, do my practices, and anyways, Archana rituals. So I am exploring the divine from within the framework of my body in a conscious collective with my bandmates, and it's fucking awesome. And so, yeah, the next aspect of Bhakti Yoga is Sakya. So, Sakya is forming a friendship with the divine. Now, if you believe in like the tantric uh, principles of like God exists in everything and everyone, and like the chaos and also the beauty, it's all a reflection of God, then forming a friendship with another person in a deep, intimate, and meaningful way is also Sakya, right? Finding the divine in them and uh, yeah, I mean, honoring that and treating that as sacred and being kind and using these other precepts towards your person, having gratitude, seeing the good in them, encouraging them, being kind, not taking offense, not taking things personally, having tolerance. That is application of spirituality. And we're doing it with each other. And that is a very tantric way to look at things. And certainly from a dualist perspective, you can also say, like, in my rituals, like in a transcendental state, I'm going to form a friendship with the divine. And but then it's like, but if you're living in the world, you have to have modern day application for other people because unless you're a hermit, I mean, people are very much a part of my life, and I love them dearly. And part of my work, especially this year too, is yeah, like accepting and loving them, the chaos and the beauty all together, and looking at it as an expression of divine. Um, yeah, and so keeping up with practices that allow me to be able to look at life that way, like starting my day with, because this stuff, like I didn't really grow up with. Like my dad's a very kind person, and he's like mostly tolerant, but he's also like chilled out over the years. And my mom was kind of bipolar, so she's very reactive to a lot of things, and um, sometimes had a sense of entitlement and trauma. Though at her heart, she was a really good person, very caring and giving. She was like a guardian of light and would make meals for like Meals on Wheels. So there's a lot of ways that she was a beautiful, wonderful person, but there's also ways that she was like wounded and didn't know how to deal with those wounds. And so forming a friendship with divine is, yeah, being tolerant of these, um, I guess, shortcomings or challenges that we might have with other people and trying to like just approach them with kindness and love. While also, the coach part of me is not just like be a doormat. And even the yogi part of me is not that way. And certainly the martial artist part of me is not that way. But there has to be a balance because then otherwise you're doing harm to you, right? So it's that fine line of speaking your truth, being kind to others, but then also having boundaries. So next thing, mantra and kirtan. So mantra and kirtan are, singing, chanting, usually some kind of Sanskrit. It could be in English though, with a community and like raising the vibration. There's a kind of rhythm and flow to it. So, having a community that I, am a part of, and I guess the spiritual leader of maybe to some people. Thrive is an amazing place where like we're going to do some kirtan today. I'm so excited, and everyone's going to be involved. And I have a drummer today, Isaiah, my student and friend. So we all kind of work together to have this sort of union of divine. And at the very least, if you're kind of like, yeah, I don't even buy into any of that. Okay, well, Mr. Science, um, there is a website called Heart Math that has empirical data of people singing together and how literally their heartbeat starts to sync up with one another. So human physiology is science based, and there are amazing, beautiful things that happen when people come together and they create vibration, right? So, um, syllables in Sanskrit have very high vibration. And if we're singing from our heart, if we're singing with gratitude and love, this will raise the frequency. So, if you've ever been around a holy place or a holy person, you can, and you're tuned in, you can feel the energy coming off of them. It's pretty amazing. I've had a couple of instances of that, and it's pretty mind blowing. So mantra and kirtan, an element of bhakti yoga, and maybe it's just like singing with your pals, like just being unguarded and like just yeah, like karaoke or something like that. Okay, svadhyaya. Svadhyaya is a very important part of bhakti yoga as well as just the yogic path. And just like in general, like study yourself, like be curious, like notice things about yourself. Otherwise, how are you going to change patterns? I guess if you're perfectly fine with exactly the way your life is and you don't want to grow or anything like that, then, just stay asleep, my friend. But if you are curious about what goes on in your inner workings as well as around you, it might be worth it to study you. And if you're not interested in you, how would you expect other people to be interested in you? So, so just some food for thought. Swadhyaya is definitely a part of the spiritual path, studying ourselves, reading spiritual scripture, whatever that means to you, and being in nature. Um, the next thing is sadhana, having some kind of spiritual discipline where you can, keep your tools sharp and use them. So meditation is a sadhana I have, and yoga and martial arts is a sadhana I have, and chanting now is a sadhana I have, and I fluctuate a little bit as far as intensity and frequency, but they're always like kind of like a hum. Like I'm picking up little points here and there, I guess, in the scoring system of basically keeping my mind and my emotions balanced. So again, like I don't wake up every day just like, yay! I have to work for it. But the benefit is that because I've had to work for these things and I've gone from my own journey through the dark to find light, is that I can guide it. Whereas if you're just like completely integrated your whole life, which is very rare, and everybody has some wounds, but you wouldn't be able to guide because you never had to work for it. You don't know what it feels like to be on the other side, not have these things. And, um, so traveling through this has been given me great empathy and an ability to connect with people where they're at because I can go down the line and I can go to the end and say, hey, my heart knows how you feel and they can tell and like, hey, why don't we take a few steps this way because I've been this route and it's a little lighter over here, it feels a little bit better, you want to come with? So like with that kind of humility, with that kind of empathy, so necessary. So last thing is sangha. So that is spiritual community. You might also hear it expressed as kula, and it is a gathering of hearts of people who are like-minded, who support and encourage one another, have some spiritual discussion, maybe engage in activities that are going to help them to raise their vibration and to honor the divine that exists within them and in front of them. So, uh, so this is kind of wrapping up my Bhakti Yoga series, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. And again, if you're interested in coming to India or Japan, you can reach out to me, Erin at erincoach.com. You can check out our website, thriveyogafit.com. If you haven't left a review on Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, please go ahead and do so. I hope that you enjoy the podcast. And so that is the biggest, bestest way you can support it. Sometimes people donate to the podcast through our Venmo handle, which is Thrive Yoga Fit. So any of those options, or just keep listening, smiling, maybe share it with a person. So I think that's it. I hope that you have a amazing weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Namaste.